Thank you all for tuning in. The following is a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people. Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch the Third, coming to you live from the palatial home studios of Bald Spots Productions here in the beautiful city of Malden, Missouri. And joining me from more than acceptable safe social distances are my guests for today. We have Timothy Poore and Jeffrey Szur. How are you gentlemen doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Okay. Yeah, I usually get a bit of a chuckle out of somebody for the way I do the intro, but well, sorry, Mike, nose itches. Somebody must be talking about me. Okay. Well, I always start with the same question of my guests, and that question is, who are you reading? And Timothy, since you're new here, I'll start with you. Who are you reading?
Yeah. It's I'm repeating the reading of a book that I've read a couple times now, and I have it like right over here. It's The Dictator's Handbook. It's by Bruce Bueno de Mesquita. It really kind of discussed the introduction of game theory and the use and how humans make decisions. Well, certain humans make decisions. So you read it again every so often, and you kind of see some people use it as a playbook. Others use it to kind of to help figure out why people make the decisions that they do. So
I've heard of it before, but I haven't read it. But I've always been meaning to. I'm kind of an armchair economist, so I am totally interested in game theory. And I've read the Freakonomics books on that, and it has some great insights and really makes it easy to understand. But yeah, I gotta get a hold of the Dictator's Handbook.
Yeah,
looks like we lost Jeffrey, but hopefully he'll be back.
He'll be back pretty quick. So he's a social scientist. He kind of helps figure out why people make the political decisions that they do. And he has this computer and his formulas and his game theory. Sort of like idea of like what's going on. It's fairly accurate. And so at least in showing why people are going to make the decisions that they do, and it's been very informative and as far as like policies that have been coming from it.
I found it gives great insight on how people game theory in general, how it gives insight into how people will react to new policies. And because I do I'm a leadership, call myself a leadership guide. I'm actually writing a series of books on leadership with my particular methodology, and that's something that because you really need the people to accept your policies, and so how do you do that
or figure out who question. Or figure out who in that organization is going to benefit the most from your policy suggestion, why would they benefit from it? Those are, there's people who think that they're decision makers, and then there's people who actually are the decision makers. Also,
right.
and there's usually people who have their hand on the money.
Yeah. You want to find out who's really in charge? Follow the money.
Sounds like the golden rule.
How about you, Jeffrey?
Well, as I said the last time, I try and stay up with my industry through publications and things of that nature. And since I don't watch TV or mainstream media, most of the research I do is my own. So as far as books are concerned, though, Timothy, I love that book. But again, it's the basics for me. I try and read the Bible every day and get my foundation that way. So I spend more time in that, and then all publications and research on the internet for trying to find what the truth is, not what the media is telling us. Except for you, Bill. You tell the truth. So
I do my best to provide the truth, at least some of it. But yeah, I have to admit, I do a little watching of the media, but not the mainstream media. I watch a lot of stuff that's a little more independent.
I'll get that.
But yeah, and I like to watch original
I'll get that
source
through the
material.
internet. That's so, more or less.
But yeah, I'm reading. I'm taking a class on Christian theology, or it used to be called systematic theology, but now they call it Christian theology. But I'm having to read this book, 50 Core Truths of the Christian Faith, and it's interesting. Really boils things down so that you can understand what the different doctrines are. But yeah.
So would it help me as Episcopalian to figure out what they're talking about in the Pentecostal church that I go to?
It might help you find out if they're talking the truth, if they're giving a great the right talk, if they're giving the right material. That's something I found that people don't, people who do go to church don't really do is check their ministers, check their worship teams, especially the worship teams, the songs. The worship teams should be treating the songs the way a good minister should be treating his or her sermons, and checking and making sure that it's doctrinally sound, that it's biblically true, and so many don't. It's like,
really hard to get to rhyme.
Yeah.
my wife's is on a worship team. My wife's actually she's a professional concert musician, and but she'll play on worship teams and stuff like that. And she plays the viola, which is the big violin, right?
Yeah, and, my mother played the viola back in high school.
Oh, excellent. I said it's wonderful living with a musician, I have to tell you. But yeah, sometimes you're just kind of like, you're listening to the lyrics, you're just kind of like, yeah, that's not how it works. It's the other way around, or something like that. Right. I don't want to point out too much, but it's usually songs that are played on frequent rotation and Christian based radio stations.
Yeah, yeah. They sound really great, but then you listen to the lyrics and realize probably not quite so much.
Yeah.
My grandfather used to refuse to sing songs he didn't know because he wanted to check and make sure that they were right before he committed to actually singing them.
I apologize. I know I'm.
That's smart.
Yeah, Jeffrey, it looks like your internet's not doing really great.
Fort Lauderdale, that's coming through. So I think that's
losing
the problem. I apologize for that. I keep trying to get back on. No, I think you're exactly right. It's more about the show instead of and entertainment instead of having even the worship songs. So it's so important to have that foundation. It's all about a relationship, right?
Sure.
I just saw a preacher say the other day, if Jesus isn't enough, then you don't know the real Jesus. So that's important with the worship songs as well as the message, right? It's all there's all these denominations and stuff like that, and all that is how you feel comfortable worshiping Him. But the foundational truths have to be the same. That's the bottom line for all of us, right? It's whether you have a relationship with Him or not.
Yep, absolutely. Well, before we lose you again, let's talk about your water real quick. Get your plug in, and you make pure water out of thin air.
We go back to nature. Nature does things the right way. It's us humans that mess it up. So we tap into the natural water cycle that we learned all the way back in 7th grade. evaporation, condensation, how this earth, when it was formed, has the same amount of water on it. Unfortunately, we have become a pharmaceutical country where everything is a pill for this and a pill for that. We've gone decades with the engineer's creed that the solution to pollution is dilution. Let's take these nasty chemicals and throw it in a big body of water and dilute it down to a level that some scientist tells us is safe to drink. I think that what has happened is you really can't trust groundwater right now with everything that's happened. I've got a lot of examples of that, with really no new chemicals going on the testing list with the EPA, and now we're finding that the bottled water, which has become the number one beverage in the world. Think about that, Tim and Bill. Bottled water, right? 15 years ago, if we would have said that invest in a bottled water company, we all would have laughed at each other. But something that we used to drink out of a garden hose when we were growing up is now put into a bottle and sold to us, and is the number one selling beverage in the world. Interestingly enough, it's something that I was told I had a tinfoil hat and I was a fear monger because I said that all that plastic bottle was putting nanoplastics into the water, and they told me I was crazy and that would never happen. And lo and behold, 3 months ago the dam broke. Right, Columbia University came out and said they tested all this bottled water, and hopefully can you guys still hear me? Okay. Yeah, so they tested the bottled water, and they found out there's 100,000 times more plastic in the bottled water than they first anticipated. And I could have told you that. I used to tell my salespeople to go out and buy a case of bottled water before they went on a sales call. Keep it out in the direct sun for about 2-3 weeks, and without cracking the seal, you could raise the total dissolved solids, which tells you that stuff that's not supposed to be in your water is in your water. It doesn't tell you what it is. But I could raise it from 100 to 350 in 3 weeks of keeping sealed bottled water out in the sun. Now, I'm not as smart, man, but if it's sealed and the only thing touching the water is plastic, I would have to say the plastic's breaking down into the bottled water. So you're dealing with, Coke, Pepsi, Nestle that realized that, after Bloomberg went after him for the sugary drinks and everyone being overweight, that they needed a healthy alternative. So they went to water and they did the marketing ploy of the century. They told us how bad that our tap water was, but they didn't tell us that they were really just filtering it a little bit and putting it in a bottle and selling it to us. So our machines make water at the source. They give you water freedom. You're making your own water at your house, at your location. You're not having to put it into a bottle. You're actually putting it into a glass, and then we have larger commercial machines on the humanitarian aspect where we're providing 1,000 gallons of water for a village in Maka, Cameroon, with 501c3s Aqua Vera, Jean-Philippe Scotcha Foundation, the Noah's Ark Foundation, and L'Oreal Women's Sustainability Fund donated $350,000 to this project because it's the women that walk 4.2 kilometers to the dirty river. Community of 1,000 or a village of 1,000 people, they lose somewhere between 3 to 6 people due to waterborne diseases in a year. So, and we just put out our first disaster relief trailer that's totally off grid, has 60 kW of battery storage, has cell towers and Starlink, so you can not only charge your phone, but we make 210 gallons of water per day. It's the maximum of what we can make, for disaster relief, and then make a phone call or go on the internet. So we've got 2 disaster relief trailers in Maui operating right now, and we just did our first one in South Florida. So that's we're real excited. We think that got to get back to nature. The more you can tap into the way that nature works, the better. And by being able to make your own water, we add minerals back in to raise the pH. So you're drinking a 8.2 pH alkaline water. Again, we had a choice of either ionizing or mineralizing to raise the pH. We believe nature's way, calcium and magnesium. And we just got back from Amy Grant's farm. Amy Grant and Vince Gill, we have been providing water for their farm where they donated to a Christian camp, so underprivileged kids could have summer camp. And we just celebrated providing water there for 10 years. The Barefoot Republic Camp is the name of the charity organization that runs this. So that was awesome. Talk about really recharging my batteries to be able to spend the day with everyone and tell stories about the 10 years for the camp to be where it's at, and how we provided the water over those 10 years, and the difficulties, the trials, the roadblocks, the things you have to overcome. It was, and then to listen to Amy worship and sing. So, she was singing some good old hymns. It was a blessing.
Awesome.
Great. Yeah, you definitely got to recharge those batteries from time to time.
It's a battle. It's a battle.
Not just for cell phones.
Trying to bring a new emerging technology out into the world. I was talking to Timothy before. I love where he was and how he morphed into his business, and something as simple as someone saying to him, I gave this to you because you're the only one that could figure it out. And then he started realizing that what a need there was. So I really just love his story. So let me give him the opportunity to tell it, because I'll talk all day about mine.
Great. Well, Timothy, tell us about it's ATP Health, right?
Yeah, ATP Healthcare.
Healthcare.
And so, we kind of started this company by accident. I worked in a long time ago. I worked in had some experience with export controls. Dealing with going back to our why we were reading the books that we are reading. But then I transitioned over into healthcare, and specifically on the post-acute care side. I wanted to be a pharmaceutical sales rep, but I don't think I had the looks for it, and a number of other things. I could sell the shit out of stuff. Excuse my language, but I didn't quite have the looks for stuff. So. Anyways, I ended up getting a job working in hospice, and then worked for a home health provider for a brief minute, and then transitioned to a skilled nursing organization, and ended up working with a group where we would purchase skilled nursing properties, and I would help identify those properties and then fill them up with people. And that gave a lot of valuable experience. I did that for a number of years, and then I went off my own. I didn't want to work in and with complex patients or anything like that, but due to the nature of my work and experience, I would get phone calls from hospitals saying, we got a patient that's been here a little while. Would you mind, taking a look and letting us know what you think, and trying to get this patient out? And when we got a patient that was pretty complex. He had some criminal history issues that was involved with him, and it was really making him not too desirable to be, at a nursing home. We were able to get him placed within an hour or so of being notified, and the patient had been in the hospital for over 60 days. Insurance actually had stopped paying on the patient for quite a while, so the insurance, the hospital was just bleeding money on him, and that results in us having to pay more at the end of the day. It's just money just doesn't appear or disappear. And the director of care management for that hospital said, you should charge for this. And so we figured out a way to start charging hospitals for it, and did that for, after we started doing that, we quickly realized that it's the same problem again and again. And you could build a machine to work on this problem and to help identify it and mitigate it. and get these patients set up in a way that it's not going to happen again, or reduce the chances of it happening again once they leave the hospital and go in to get additional care post-acute. And so that led from us working on ATP Healthcare to our new company, PEP. And PEP is an AI platform that assists hospitals in identifying patients at a time of admission that are going to require post-acute care. And then it carries that patient through the recovery process. It works with the hospital's case management department to make sure that all the pieces are put into place for that patient until they either transition to long-term care or they return home. But it leaves the hospital with the patient, maintain their care journey. And, so there's naturally been some interest in that. So we're running, we're burning candles. We're burning a candle at both ends right now with these organizations. But it is kind of, points out the issues in healthcare right now. ATP healthcare, I tell everyone, it shouldn't exist. It isn't a sign of a healthy health system if we don't have a place to care for everyone. It shows on what the priorities are sometimes in healthcare, and it's no, the 99% of the people who wake up every morning and are putting on scrubs or are walking into a hospital or a nursing home or run a home health agency or hospice. They're doing it for the benefit of their neighbor and their friends and people they love and care about, and people who they'll never meet. But each one of those entities has to make decisions that are going to keep the lights on at the same time. And so, and they all have their own rules and regulations of what they're trying to do and what their mission is. And that doesn't always match and coordinate with what's needed. And so you have to be able to translate that for people. That's where we kind of come in. So
yeah, there's a lot of stuff messed up about our healthcare system. But thankfully I've been blessed to be in a pretty good spot in the healthcare system right now with my physicians and other medical providers. But yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there who aren't.
It's a lot. It's a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean,
what's the basic? I don't care how much. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, it's okay. What was I going to say? How do you go about finding the post-acute care facilities for them? I mean, is there like an interview process? You got a questionnaire you fill out?
Right. No, that's part of it, right? I mean, so we'll send out surveys to post-acute care organizations pretty regularly on what they're capable of handling at this time, and we could do that, based upon state or whichever. So that kind of gives us an idea, and that will be reaching out directly to a specific skilled nursing facility. But the thing is, though, if the hospital is having issues with placing that patient, chances are that person at that skilled nursing facility has probably said no about 5 or 6 times. And it either may be no because there's a payer situation that's not quite working out right, like the reimbursement isn't right or whatever it may be. They have a census issue, they have a staffing issue, whatever it may be. So that they're not going to have the sort of pull through that you're going to need in order to get that patient across the finish line. So typically what you have to do is you have to go to somebody at the VP level or the private equity that actually owns the skilled nursing facility, right? And so even with, people like to beat up on private equity and rightfully so sometimes. That's absolutely true. Yeah. But most of those folks in private equity have a great deal amount of healthcare experience. And many of the times that we've worked with people in private equity, there's been a few that have been, and you can read about our work in newspapers and stuff like that on ATP Healthcare. We ran into a few private equity groups that I wouldn't want to run into in an alleyway at night. I even used to work for one. I wouldn't want to run into an alleyway at night. But then there's others that thankfully that they're there because I know that they will do whatever it takes for that patient. I worked for a skilled nursing organization for a little while that didn't always have the best reputation, right? The star ratings weren't good and stuff like that, and this guy his name is Dave, and he was a VP of operations for the company, and we had a disagreement regarding what should be done regarding a patient, and we contacted Dave, and he really does have the final say. He's a VP of operations, but I think his clout in the building was a lot higher than that, and it was without a doubt whatever's best for the patient, and that's what you do, and don't bother me on an issue like this ever again. And our building, those buildings really weren't, exactly like the Taj Mahal. I mean, they were some rough buildings, but still, even like he was like dedicated to that mission. So once it's in somebody's lap who's a decision maker, and they say, okay, well, all we need is these pieces in place, then I'll kind of work. And so that's half the battle right there. And really kind of identifying that person, which kind of goes into that game theory, because sometimes it's not a VP, sometimes it's a regional or something like that. Who's going to move it down the road for you. And then there's also, you can look at open source intelligence methods to collect information on, they may not know that they're capable of handling a certain type of patient, for example. Most nursing homes are built the same way. They can handle a trach patient up to 5 liters, but they may not know that, and they may not know like circumstances which they can take a higher patient if they just get the proper staffing in place. And that's just plainly due to the amount of turnover that has been in the industry for the past number of years. The average person, well, I should say the average post-acute care organization, whether it be home health, hospice, or a skilled nursing, experiences on average over 100% turnover a year. I mean, that's an incredible click, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of musical chairs. Bob or Jamie worked in one building 1 week, and then the next week they're working over in another building, and 6 months from now they're working in another building, right? But they're working in the same role, so they understand the job, but it's just nothing's changing. It's the same hamster wheel. So those are some of the key areas in which we'll look at, we'll research to say, okay, and often we'll go back and we'll say, listen, and the hospitals know this, the case managers know this, they're the smartest people in the building for the most part. They know that there's not much for dialysis patients in their neighborhood or in their area. And these are going to be challenges and that sort of stuff. And they need help with getting, the proper resources. So we'll work with them to get the resources in the area that they need, and try to find people to, deliver those services. If you show somebody that's like, hey, there's an opportunity here, there's a market opportunity for you, and they see the numbers, that they're going to adjust.
Yeah. It's it's amazing. How the system works at all sometimes.
Yeah.
You got the people at the top who are looking to make a buck, and people at the bottom trying to make the best of it. And it's just
even the people at the top, though, most of them are trying to make the best of it. I've been in this for a while, and I'm still not completely jaded with the idea that the top level people, they just want to make money and stuff like that. Now there's this interesting tool, and that's in healthcare a lot. It's called a real estate investment trust, and they'll own properties, and then they'll own the property that a hospital sits on, and they'll charge basically a lease agreement with the operator of the hospital to do the maintenance, pay the taxes, and run the services. And they'll do that in the skilled nursing side. And those types of situations are very they can be challenging from time to time. We see a lot of that with skilled nursing properties, And sometimes there's groups that own the real estate investment trust. They also own the operations of the building itself. So it's just different companies, and that can make it sort of complex and figure out who the ownership is and what's at stake here. But even a lot of the real estate investment trusts, the larger ones, you say, hey, this is an issue we're having. What can you guys do? They'll work with their operators and say, yeah, we need more dialysis centers in this area or something like that, and they'll adjust their agreements in order to get more buildings like that. So it's just it just that's not the top thing that's on people's radar all the time, right? They're being distracted by other things constantly. So and that there's a lot that they're being asked of, that everyone gets asked of, and just to be aware of everything that's going on is very challenging.
Yeah. How do you ensure the quality of the facility you're sending people to? Because I had a friend. She's since passed away, but she was being sent from post acute to post acute to post acute to post acute. And some of these places were all right. I mean, I wouldn't expect there to be 5-star Michelin dinners or anything like that, but some of these places, like, they were serving sludge, and it was just crazy. And so paint peeling off the walls and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it kind of just give you like a breakdown. Depending upon the state, so Medicare covers your rehab, the actual medical care and rehab, for about 100 days. Okay. And they pay a rate on average between $600 to $700 per day. Right. And so that's going to be what going out of the hospital for 100 days, you go to a skilled nursing facility, and 60 days you go in home health. That's who the payer is going to be. It's going to be Medicare. The portion that's paid by a copay or long-term care is paid by Medicaid. Okay, so Medicaid works with Medicare, but it's a state-run operation, and it varies by state on how much that reimbursement is going to be. Now, for if you're typically most states, this breaks down along political lines on how well Medicaid is reimbursed for long-term care. Typically, states that are red is going to have a little bit lower reimbursement for, or at least daily rate for states for long-term care than a blue state, for example. So we see the typical average for blue states being over $300 a day, whereas we see typically red states being about $275 per day. And that's to pay for everything. That's to pay for the nurse to come by to check on a long-term care resident, linens, food, all that sort of stuff. And at the end of the day, it comes out to roughly between $5 to $9 on average for meals per patient, right? And now that can be supplemented in a number of ways depending upon your Medicare census. You imagine that I mentioned before is between $600 to $700. So the higher your Medicare census is for the building, you can afford to pay for more food or higher level food for your residents, but then you have to maintain that census, consistently. So skilled nursing facilities will have a census level that they need to maintain. That marketer, that person who's admitting patients, has to maintain so many Medicare for that building. The lowest level we typically see, and for building to stay operational, is like around 3% Medicare, which you don't think is like too much. That's but the vast majority of your patients at that point are long-term care, 97% of long-term care. For example, there was a facility in St. Louis. Was it Northview? Was in St. Louis. That was the one that shut down on December 5th last year, suddenly. And they had room for about 400 residents. They had about 170, and they had 2 Medicare patients over like a 3-year span. There's no way that building is staying operational. It's not. You can try to be like just strictly have long-term care, but you're going to be putting in a lot of money, and the ownership. One party of the ownership there's two parties in the ownership. But one party, the ownership was putting in a significant amount of money into the operations of the building. The other one, not so much. So, and then that building ended up shutting down. It's awful, you know. I mean, so and we see that a lot. And whereas, you know, other facilities, so if your facility is getting at least $300 or so per month, I mean per day for a patient to take care of them, you know, there's other things that are going to be taken care of. I mean, if the food quality is going to be higher. You know, food is healthcare, food is medicine, and that's, you know, that's one thing that people kind of need to pay attention to. You know, it's, and especially in states where you know, that's a retirement destination, that's definitely something you need to pay attention to. You know, and that leads to other things. If the facility has a higher reimbursement rate, or receiving a higher reimbursement rate from the state for Medicaid, they can take more complex patients than in a facility who's not receiving as much money, because they have a buffer. They have that buffer. They can sit there and they go to a hospital and say, yeah, we could take this really clinically complex patient that we're probably not going to get reimbursed on, and we're going to have to spend a lot of resources on. But because we take this patient, you and I are going to be best friends. And hospitals can do that. They can put them on a preferred provider network list and say, yeah, this organization does a great job. Now, back to your original question, this kind of gives you an idea like where the economics come from. Back to your original question, though, when we're selecting a facility, if it's a 1, or if it's a 0-star or 1 or 2-star, the 0 and 1 is absolutely, it's a no-go. 2-star, potentially we can send to that facility, but we will have reservations against sending a patient there, or even sending a case packet to that type of facility for them to review. 0 and 1-star, we won't even send a referral to them. We may reach out to them, but because we just didn't pick it up on our survey, but we won't even send a case packet to them until we have permission from whoever's representing the patient and the hospital, because there's 0 and 1 stars for a reason, right? Now, and so that really brings in question if they could be able to perform the rehab that's required. Now, on the flip side of that, though, if the facility is a 5-star facility, that also puts in questions, because how legitimate is their 5-star rating? Is their 5-star rating because they're just taking, you know, everyone's favorite grandma who bumped her knee, or are they actually taking very clinically complex patients? And so typically the type of facility we see who is robust enough to take a really clinically complex patient is going to be like in that 3-star range, 4-star range. It depends on the state. State of Florida is like 3 to 4. In Georgia right now, because the state has such an issue with staffing levels, you could even go down to 3-star, or even like 2.5-star. And these are these are federal Medicare ratings. What hurts facilities in Georgia is just the staffing levels, and Missouri too. The staffing levels are really rough, and that's challenging. They're improving, but their level of improvements is a little bit slower than some other states like Florida, Texas, and California. And you know, those states have rapidly improving their staffing levels as opposed to others. So those facilities that don't have the staffing levels, they're going to get punished a little bit for that in their star rating. The other really key thing, though, to look at is state inspection reports. Some states make it very easy to get these reports. Others make it a little bit more challenging. But there's also open source intelligence ways that you can receive those, that you can get access to those state inspection reports in a timely manner. Like, for example, in Maryland, you have to send a request, and it's going to take a couple weeks for you to hear back from them. But there are ways for you to search for them on the internet and get them pretty much immediately. And that's very challenging. So the state is going to be looking at things like, did people elope? How are they taking care of the residents who live there for a long period of time, as opposed to who are just there for short-term rehab, right? So the state's looking at a little bit different things, and that's that's really looking at the overall operations of the nursing home or the facility or the organization. And me personally, I tend to look at that a little bit more. It's a little bit harder to lie about that. And those state inspectors, they know where to look. They're smart people. They not much gets past them. I always found it was just like when I was with buildings and stuff like that, we'd have state come in. I'll just say, listen, you guys go look wherever y'all want to look. This is my cell phone number. I'm not going to be in the building because nothing I say to you is going to work out well. So if you have a question, text me or call me. And I'll be happy to talk to you about it, but I don't want to be there. So, yeah. So with your friend bouncing around from facility to facility, yeah, and it's challenging. If your friend was like in the Midwest somewhere where staffing levels are very difficult, yeah, those facilities is probably going to be 2-star because she's probably going to be on a little more clinically complex side, and they just don't have the staffing for it, unfortunately.
Well, this was actually in California, so in Southern California, yeah. But yeah, she was clinically complex, breast cancer, diabetes, psych issues, and eventually
cancer is cancer. Yeah, so cancer is typically, if on a skilled nursing side, you're typically not going to accept a cancer patient, be it the way that insurance is set up, specifically Medicare. If she had Medicare as her payer, so back again, if you're only getting $600 or $700 to pay for that patient per day, the medications come out of that $600 to $700. So if she is getting treatment on that, she would most likely be getting discharged for that treatment. That treatment is taking place in the hospital, and then they're trying to find her placement again after that, if the facility isn't taking her back right away, and that could be very challenging. Plus, nursing home, there's a real issue with infection control, as we're all terribly aware of.
Yeah,
that's it.
You don't want to go to the hospital. It's full of sick people.
Jim Gaffigan has a great one on talking about hospitals and when his wife was delivering babies. It's fantastic. It's like, but it's true. Yeah, it's full. I mean, it's same thing in nursing homes. It's full of sick people, right? I mean, yeah, you don't want to be a cancer patient in one of those facilities.
How does home care fit into all of this?
We're relying on home health a lot, and the problem is that we definitely don't have the staffing for home health nationally. There just isn't enough, and that demand for those services are increasing more and more. It's a much cheaper option, right? And so now we're seeing because of the lack of ability for home health to staff properly, hospitals and health systems are looking more and more into hospital at home programs in which they're able to deliver sort of like a higher level care and preempt an emergency room visit or a hospital stay by providing a higher level of care. And they're trying to preempt, again, a home health referral. Additionally, you also have the growth of home health companies that are very specialized in what they're doing, though, and that's a benefit in which they are specifically going after just a couple areas of disease management, and we see this in skilled nursing organizations also, where they're just picking a couple areas and they're going to get really good and they're going to get their costs down really low, and they're going to deliver exceptional service at that. Being that they're getting focused, they can, again, keep their costs low because those margins and what Medicare is willing to pay back or reimburse for them for is getting much more complex and more challenging. It's best that you just focus on something and get really good at it. Right. And so, the the days of organizations having a patient with their services for a full 100 days and skilled nursing, or full 60 days for a bum knee are few and far between. Those days are quickly dying out. Yeah, because you get a home health patient or a nursing home patient, and if Medicare, if it was straight Medicare was the payer, why you were going to be able to you were going to eat steak every night for a few months. But what we're starting to see is, whether or not is this really needed. And Medicare is starting to say, maybe all this care and services, we need to keep an eye on it a little bit tighter here.
Who is it that actually hires you in your company?
Most of the time it's hospitals, especially on the AI side, it's hospitals. But we do have families reach out to us, typically through a law firm. They've connected with us. They've learned about our services, or they find us on a bathroom wall somewhere, and and they call us that way, and we basically just we'll talk to somebody and just say, we'll give them 30 minutes of what do you need to know, right, in 30 minutes, and write it down. And if you need to call me back, that's fine. They can hire us, but we typically don't we don't really focus on that too much. Usually a 30-minute phone conversation. We just try to get you a game plan, stick to the game plan, and just if you have to follow up with us, follow up with us. But hospitals will hire us, and that's actually we will work on so many patients at a time for them. They're paying for bandwidth. Bandwidth and attention span.
Okay, well, those are good things to pay for,
right? Because if you're a level 1 trauma center, right, you're gonna have a complex case management team, and you're not gonna have enough of them, right? And so you're essentially you're getting somebody who you're getting an FTE or full-time employee that can work on some of these issues that just bog down your team. Right. I mean, they don't need to be looking up who's a vice president of such and such company and say, I need to get them on the phone. I'm happy to make that introduction because I really don't want to be doing this. There's other things I'd rather do.
Yeah, I bet. And then while we've got Jeffrey back, because I know he's experiencing a huge storm. We've been getting a bit of rain from Beryl, from what's left over of Hurricane Beryl, but it hasn't affected our internet as bad as your storm has affected yours. Who is your primary customer, Jeffrey? Who's primarily looking for altitude or responds well to your
obviously
message?
Anyone that's very health conscious and is looking what they put into their body is number one. It's different when you go with the retail or smaller home and office unit, which I call the T12. We call the T12 unit, which makes between 3 and 15 gallons, depending upon the amount of humidity in the air, and has a 7-gallon storage tank. So those are the ones that will go in your home or your office. A lot of doctors' offices have our machines because of the healthiness of the water. Yoga studios, gyms, and then homes and offices. I related very much to what Tim was saying, and when he goes to these healthcare providers, and while they want to help, they have to keep the lights on, right? And it's the same thing when I deal with charitable organizations. Right. They'll come to me and say, Jeff, we're a charitable organization. We have to make this money go so far, and I'll say, yeah, but I can only go so far, because in order for me to continually to help and do this over a number of different charitable organizations, I got to keep the lights on too. I have to balance that. Right. There are situations where we can go in and it's a very difficult situation for a school and kids, and they really need water. And so what we try and do, I'll give a perfect example. One of the things that we're trying to work out now with a school in Colombia that's on a remote island that has huge water problems, huge water issues, and the kids are basically offspring of the prostitutes that work in Cartagena. Okay, so they're kids that really no one wants, and this organization has put together a school to educate them, and so what we're trying to do is work with businesses and organizations to try and have them take a distributorship in that area of Colombia and donate $100 of each machine sold to the school. So that the business that's going on in Colombia, and so we basically say to the potential distributor, we'll split it with you. We'll take $50 off of the wholesale price, and you take $50 off of what you're selling it for, and together we'll put $100 per unit over to the school that needs help, and then we can buy water machines for them, so the kids and the faculty have the water that they need, and then we'll go with solar and try and do something where we put together a whole theory of change. Try and do effective charity instead of just giving things away. Because when you give something away, they view it as free and they don't value it. I'll never forget in learning with the different. I've had the blessings of working with World Vision. I've worked with Helping Hands, who's Joyce Meyer's organization is run by her son, and I'll never forget him telling me the first story when he took over the charitable organization, and he went to the Dominican Republic with his first opportunity. As he says, he has the best job in the world. He gets to dole out money to help people, right? So he went to this village, and he had a whole program of sustainable, giving them chickens and building chicken coops, and so they would have eggs all the time, right? And he says, he thought it was such a great program, but when he went back 6 months later, he saw the chicken coops empty, and what the heck is going on here? And they said, well, the head of the village, his daughter was getting married, and it's our tradition to throw them a huge party. So they ate the chickens. And he said it was then he realized, unless you understand the culture and what the theory of change is and the people that you're dealing with, you have to understand that first before you try and put any program into place. It's really not too different, Tim, from what you do. You have to know the programs, you have to know the landscape, you have to know, and one of the things that commend you on is you guys started right when the person enters the hospital. That's when you started. You don't kick the can down the road and look, 50 days into their stay of where they're going to go. So the planning. Well, you try to anyway. It doesn't always work that way. So that's right. When we're dealing with, like, for example, I talked about the Maca program, the Maca village. A lot of money went into the water hub, but it's not just a place for them to go get water. There is classrooms. There is beading. Gotcha Foundation, who's the 501c3, the boots on the ground. They're providing all of the programs, and we're trying to get. We made sure that there was internet and how we were going to get internet in there, and putting educational, because nature abhors a vacuum, and so does everything else. So you give these 4 hours back to these mothers who are going down to the river now, but what are you replacing it with? You've got to replace it with, and then what's your theory of change? You got to realize that their children are their workers in their fields, that most of these people own small plots of land that they farm and ship off to market to get the money. So you're trying to tell them you're going to educate their kid. Well, you're taking them out of the field. So how do you integrate that? How do you meet those needs? It has to be in programs, and it has to be in something where they see the value of it, where it's going to relate to more opportunity for them down the line. You try and show them things like in the Philippines, where the families invest in nursing school and stuff like that, and then they come here and the people and their kids send money back to the family and continue to educate the family. So you got to try and what's your theory? I say it all the time. If someone's hungry, you give them a fish to eat for a day. You teach them the fish they're going to eat for a lifetime, right? So we try and take this and not just provide water, but provide feeding for the physical, for the mind, and for the spiritual as well. I think if you try and do any plan or any program that doesn't include all three, you're decreasing your ability for success. And again, make them part of it. I mean, the whole thing with building this hub, the whole village was involved, the kids, the families in building this. So when they have sweat equity in it, when they stand back at the end of the day and these machines and the water's coming on that, I helped build that. Now all of a sudden it has value in the community, right? And now all of a sudden these programs that they can go and learn beading, they can go and learn HVAC, they can go and learn alternate energy and solar and electricity and plumbing. Now all of a sudden they're saying, hey, I can get a skill that's valuable. But then you can start to look at it and say, oh, maybe we can increase this and we can sell water to other villages. And so there's an economic, so again, you build the foundation, and yeah, it's biblical, but I think it works. You build that foundation, and then you build on top of it, right? So, but I'm constantly saying, it's not about price to the charities. Let's get other people that can put other programs. Let's build a team. Let's build a whole process that's going to help. It's not just water, okay? If it's just water, let's keep shipping, bottled water over there and worry about getting rid of the plastic. It's, I equate that's charity, okay? And there's nothing wrong with charity, but after 3 months, the water's gone, and you're left with another ecological nightmare, which is what are we going to do with all this plastic? When Cher donated $1 million of bottled water to Flint, Michigan, it was helpful, it was necessary, but in less than 2 months, that was gone. They had all that plastic, and she had a tour coming up, and she got a lot of press, and so everyone sort of won, right? But it was short term. 3 months after that, there was no benefit to the initial $1 million of charity, right? It's here and gone. You're kicking the can down the road like we've done with healthcare, and look at the position it's gotten us in. So, what's the theory that you're trying to put together, and what's the team you're trying to build to have it endure more than 2-3 months, more than put a Band-Aid on something that needs a tourniquet, right? So, that's what we try and do. That's the vision that we try and have. When we're doing this in Hawaii, it's what's the longer term goal? We're going to have to replace 7,500 people that lost their houses. There's huge issues with water rights. How you going to try and rebuild? Are they even going to give you those water rights? Well, you got to start looking for that and building strong teams to say, well, hey, you have all this water in the air, maybe you can, and again, encompassing more of it, rainwater capture, conservation. Okay, you don't need to take 20-minute showers. Let's get to the bottom line of everything. Let's address everything to put together a comprehensive plan to get these people back in their houses that gives them what they need. Not, we all want to take a 30-minute hot shower and solve all the world's problems in the shower. But, when there's water issues on your island, you don't need to be doing that. So, try and really put together a whole program. which, was a long drawn out answer for who's my target market. But my target market is, the people who care about their health, who want to buy these machines and give us an ability that, I want all the people that can afford it to buy it retail, so we can reinvest this money to do things in other areas that it's necessary, and leave a legacy that way. That's my goal. That's what I would like to see. I think we all have a social responsibility. I know I get more joy out of seeing a 8-year-old kid, have water and thank me for that than I do at a $400,000 or $500,000 contract. But I need that $500,000 contract to be able to go and do that for those kids. So that's what we try and do. I think that if we all looked at doing it that way, you go out and you buy all these cases of bottled water, right? And you're just putting another corporate jet on Coke and Pepsi CEOs and stuff like that. But you go out and you buy a T12, and you're putting something in that we're trying to build something. I don't have kids. I try and leave a legacy. So it's not, you're not going to get dance classes for my kids, but maybe I can do summer camp for an underprivileged kid at Amy Grant's farm, or maybe I can, those are the things that, and we have some incredible charitable partners. For I would encourage everyone to look at footprintproject.org. Okay, they're an organization in New Orleans, a 501c3 that is trying to green the disaster relief industry, which is the most carbon footprint industry in the world. Because let's face it, we need everything right away, and we need to make sure everything's reliable. So it's these diesel generators, it's shipping, all these cases and cases of bottled water, and they're saying, hey, we've got the technology now. Tesla was not about the cars, it was about the battery storage. We have the ability to maybe not replace all the diesel generators, because we're going to have 4 days or 5 days without sun, but severely decrease. And so they've been doing some incredible work with solar trailers and great. We've done a lot of work with them in Maui. They took our trailer and the disaster relief coalition up at the Methodist Church. We went up to Athens, Georgia, after we went to Amy Grant's farm, and really they work tirelessly. And so I would look at organizations like that. Look at like Barefoot Republic Camp and like the Mind Army who funded our disaster relief trailer, and Zappy Zaplin, who is the head of that, believes that clean water is your right. He also believes that through psychedelics there's ways of healing people, that we don't look at healing people. He did an incredible documentary on now I can't remember his name. The basketball player who was married to the Kardashian, the Los Angeles Laker. He actually had huge drug addictions, in and out of rehabs, and went and did ibogaine, and has been clean now for 4 years. He has so. They just believe that you should think for yourself, and you should have the opportunity to make decisions, and so they support. They actually funded the South Florida disaster relief trailer. So and then Aquavera, Noah's Ark Foundation, who not only fights for clean water but fights for against gun violence in Chicago. Joakim Noah played for the Chicago Bulls all those years. He's still involved in the community. He just finished his one city basketball program that is basically bringing these gangs and these people together through basketball. And now he's doing the same thing. the NBA in Africa and donating basketball courts and things of that nature. And again, Jean-Philippe Scotcha Foundation in France. Those organizations, I mean, those are things where you can get involved in projects, and I think that's just so important. I mean, we all might not be able to go and spend time and take a week to go somewhere and help someone, but some people have the ability to write a check for $100 or $200 to great programs that look to endure, and again, making sure that
everybody has the ability to do something. Everybody has the ability to do something. Whether it's cash or time or skill or just the willingness to help.
Let me give you a perfect example. I say it all the time.
Grunt labor.
Just something as simple as subscribing to our YouTube channel. Okay, because when you get your YouTube subscribers up, you get more play. Other investors start to look at you, when just something as simple as that. Hey, this small company is trying to get their name out there. Let me like them on Facebook. Let me go to their YouTube channel, and maybe I only watch one video a month, but subscribe. Just subscribe. That's a simple way to help us. You want to help us without any cash, very little time, just to work out your finger and do a click. So like us and subscribe us on our social media. It helps us get our name out there. It's something so simple, but I have high school friends who love me, and I'm like, you've never subscribed to my YouTube. You ask me, we talk all the time, but it's just something that people forget. And it's something simple enough.
I feel your pain. That is the true test of friendship.
I feel your
like
pain.
my post or not?
But really, it's simple. You think that
it's so true. It is.
Yeah.
It's a very valuable. Yeah, it is a very valuable tool, though. I mean, it really is. I mean, that endorsement
it's
really helps out a lot.
Something as simple, and it's not costing anything, and if people saw my YouTube subscribers, and I mean, we have some great content. If people saw my YouTube subscribers go up from 200 to 1,000, it would be noticeable. There would be people that would notice. And you get the message out there, and the way that you get, all the great stuff that we're doing, just a lot of people don't know about it. That's why, Bill, I appreciate you bringing us out and having us on your podcast and putting it out there. That's helpful. But if we, the more people that we can get eyes on, the better chance that we have someone that can relate and that can integrate. And teamwork makes the dream work, and you can only build a team if people know about you. So go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go and just like our page on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. And I'd appreciate that. I mean, that would be, taking an effort to support the causes that I believe. And
excellent.
Yep. Well, gentlemen, we've been going at this for more than an hour now, and I always say leave them wanting more. So do you find, gentlemen, have any final words for the nice people?
Yeah, Tim. Okay. Well, number one, Tim, I just want to applaud you. I mean, I donate one Saturday a week, one day a week to the nursing home and go. So the stuff you were saying, and you're right, the people in there, I don't know how they do it, and I'm going through right now, my mom going through dementia up in New Jersey, and how they characterize that death by 1,000 paper cuts. I mean, you're just slow. It's just slow watching this deterioration, and I have no idea 7 years ago when I started serving at the nursing homes why I was led to do that, but it prepared me for what I'm going through with my own mother. And so, Tim, I really just want to thank you for what you do. I mean, when you and I were talking before we got on the show, I think that's just hugely valuable. People, again, they don't know the landscape. They haven't been through it before. They never had someone in their family be that age and have to go through all of that. So how, who do they turn to? So the fact that you saw that need and again and it's a difficult situation, but I think I just want to thank you for what you do and being that in between to really just try and help the people get to the place that's going to meet their needs, because too many people are forgotten. And Bill, I love the platform and what you do. Again, allowing us to come on and speak our heart and speak what we believe in and talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So just appreciate you both. And
excellent. Cool. And likewise, Jeffrey, y'all's mission is I mean, it's critical and it's important that everybody have opportunity for clean drinking water. And I applaud you on especially on working with the nursing home and volunteering there. Because a lot of the individuals in nursing homes, they having that connection with somebody, being able to share your story, your experiences is is a very excellent source of therapy and care, and that goes a long way. You end up building relationships with people when you work in these environments that will challenge you deeply every day, and they will genuinely change your soul. So I'd say those years were invaluable, difficult but invaluable. Again, well, and thank you, Bill, for having me on. Also, I really do appreciate it, and for introducing me to Jeffrey.
Thank you. No, thank you both for being on. It's been a real pleasure, and to all of you out there, remember to wash your hands and stay tuned for the ending credits. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank our producer, my beloved mother, Eileen Hatch. I, of course, am your humble host. I'd also like to thank my special guests, Jeffrey Szur of Altitude Water and Timothy Poore of ATP Healthcare. Support the show if you feel so led over on patreon.com. We're known as Bald Spots Pro. Don't you dare miss YWL Online. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever fine podcasts are offered. Be sure to tune in next time when my special guests will be Debbie Bryan, an award-winning expert in leadership, top-notch TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and beacon of resilience, and returning guest and friend of the show, Joseph Leonard. He's host of the Christitutionalist Politics podcast, author of 5 international best-selling books, number 6 drops in May, and all-around nice guy in Detroit. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people. If you or someone you know needs support now, call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org. That is the suicide and crisis lifeline here in the United States.